Hello and welcome back to the Kentucky Career Center's Assistive Technology Learning Portal. In this video, we'll take a quick look at the OVR-10 form, also known as the Receipt and Transferrable Items Agreement. This form gets filled out and signed anytime that Vocational Rehabilitation spends money to help one of its consumers. Depending on the case, the service, and how the service is delivered, this form could be sent to you electronically, filled out and returned in the mail, or completed online. You must sign and return this document as soon as possible and return it to your vocational rehabilitation counselor, or else you will have to return the items or services provided. At the top of the form, you'll see the name of the consumer, their case number in our case management system, and the location of the items. This could include an address or more general information about where the items were delivered. Next, you'll see a description of the items. On this example, we've got a custom fit office chair. In this section, you may sometimes see serial numbers or product redemption codes as part of the information. These items were delivered to the above named individual on April 12, 2020. When Vocational Rehabilitation purchases an item for one of our consumers, the item remains the property of Vocational Rehabilitation for a length of term that is set by this Receipt and Transferrable Items Agreement. At the bottom, it says, "I hereby acknowledge the receipt of the items above, and I agree to the following terms." The first term says, "I agree not to sell, exchange, encumber, or otherwise dispose of the items prior to the expiration of this agreement." What this means is that the items that you have are the property of the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, and that you will not do anything to get rid of them before the end of this agreement. The useful life expectancy for this item is 6 years. The useful life expectancy is the amount of time that we expect the equipment to remain useful and to be the most current technology. In this case, 6 years. For that period of 6 years, this chair will remain the property of Vocational Rehabilitation. But after those 6 years are over, we consider the equipment either too outdated or too old and used to be reusable. So at that point, it becomes the property of the consumer, and we don't need it back. Number 3 says the depreciation date for this item is April 12th, 2026. The depreciation date is the delivery date plus the useful life expectancy, and is the date on which the items will become the property of the consumer. Number 4 says, "I understand that if I should cease to use the described items before the expiration date, then the title and use of said items shall revert to the agency." In other words, if your training or career goals change, or if you decide to stop looking for work, you should return your items to the agency so that we can reuse them with another consumer. Number 5, I understand that in the event of my death or incapacity, the title and possession of the described items will revert to the agency. In other words, if your health fails to the point that you no longer need the items, they should be returned to the agency so that we can use them again with a different consumer. Number 6, I understand that unless notified in writing to the contrary, payment of any and all taxes, fees, insurance, and operating expenses, including but not limited to repairs and maintenance, shall be my responsibility. In other words, should anything happen to your equipment and it require repairs, or if there are maintenance needs or reusable items that are provided as part of your vocational rehabilitation equipment package, those expenses will all be your responsibility. Last, number 7, I agree to periodic inspection of all items by an authorized agent of the agency. This means if someone from the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation asks for you to show your equipment so that we can make sure that you still have it, or ask if it's working okay for you, then you agree that you'll respond back and answer us. As the consumer, you would sign on this line and date here. Of course, if you have any questions about the OVR-10 receipt and transferable items agreement, please feel free to reach out to OVR staff to ask for further explanation.